Hello, my name is James Baker, and this is The Digital Divide, Growing Media Literacy. Now, the digital divide is something we have all dealt with as teachers, as educators, as students ourselves. Some people have access to things very, very easily, others do not, and the digital divide is a very real thing. But the true issue that we're facing now has begun to change. At one point, the digital divide was this, most commonly defined as the gap between those individuals and communities that have and those who do not have access to information technologies. This is the most basic rote definition of the digital divide. It can be found many other places. This is from Edutopia. I picked this one up from. Historically, this has been the biggest issue with the divide, has been access. However, that is really starting to change. Taking a look at this chart from the U.S. Department of Commerce, we see that between 1998 and 2001, lower income families saw massive increases in internet usage and internet access. And from 2001 to today, those numbers have just become even more, the growth has been even larger from 2001 to today. For a myriad of reasons, internet technology is becoming cheaper, it's becoming smaller, it's becoming far more ubiquitous. The smartphone is everywhere. It's very difficult now to have a cell phone of any type that does not have internet access at all. And companies and localities and governments have been finding ways to get lower income communities online more readily. Moreover, school systems around the country have really ramped up Wi-Fi and broadband adoption throughout all levels of education, especially in lower, traditionally underserved communities. So what we see here is that access really is not the number one issue anymore. It's quickly becoming less and less of an issue. It's always going to be there, okay? It's always going to be there. But access issues can be easily addressed nowadays through in-class accommodations on a case-by-case basis. So the simple rote digital divide, all of my kids don't have it, so therefore I can't use a lot of tech in my class, that is no longer an acceptable reason to not fully integrate, or at least begin integrating some technology components into your classroom. The new digital divide has to do with, well, now what do we do with it? This idea of a lack of media literacy, or for lack of a better term, professionalism that we see amongst our kids. For example, in 2005, roughly 1/2 of all teens created media content, and 1/3 of them have actively shared that content on the internet. So think of all of the teens that are actively on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Snapchat, on message boards, going online as we speak right now. They are creating, they are doing, they are building. But they're kids, and they lack certain skills and understanding. Some students have these abilities. The new divide is between the students that have a strong media literacy and those that do not. Because of this, this leads to two growing issues. One is called the transparency problem, and the other, the ethics challenge. Transparency. The challenges young people face learning to see clearly the ways that media shape perceptions of the world. In the study quoted here that was provided in the readings, it talks about how students that were given a game based on the American Revolution, and they were supposed to put themselves in and theorize who shot first. The students that were given the game took what the game told them at face value. There was no critical thinking. We live in a postmodern world where satire is satire itself. And what we have pictured here, The Onion, probably one of the greatest satirical websites / newspapers of the generation. Our kids don't get satire. Our kids don't get a lot of that stuff, especially the younger ones. They don't truly get the way media shapes their perception of the world. They don't understand. And why don't they understand? We'll get to that in a second. It's not their fault. It's not their fault. And that's a key thing to remember, and something we'll work on as we go back. The other big issue is the ethics challenge. With the breakdown of traditional forms of professional training and socialization that might prepare young people for their increasingly public roles as media makers and community participants. Translating, students don't get their role in this new community. They don't see it as an online community. They don't get a World Wide Web. They see their network of friends. And they believe that what they share and what they create is really only going to stay between their small network. And maybe it will. But what they don't understand is that it's very likely that their stuff will go out beyond that network. They're in a world where they're entering a global community, but they have no in real life analogy for that global community, okay? They understand that when they tell something to their friend, it stays with their friend in person. But when they put it on the global network, it may have only been intended to go one place, but it's going everywhere. So how do we foster and get them to understand that they are a part of a very global thing? As they take these very public roles of media makers and community participants. So, addressing the transparency problem, number one, we have to remember that our students are kids. They lack background knowledge. They lack life experiences. This isn't their fault. They're kids. Because of this, they sometimes have trouble assessing the validity of sources and often take information at face value. To grow this information literacy, methods could include one, simple immersion. Immersion, immersion, immersion. The more you have students access and assess the internet, the more likely they are to take that elsewhere in their professional and personal lives. Two, I'm a big fan of web quests and also research-based activities. But anything you do has to have a critical thinking application. Students should be actively reviewing and critiquing the websites they're getting their information from. Simply telling them that .com is bad and .org is good and .edu is good, no, that goes beyond that. Those are good starting places, but we need to get them to look at things with a critical eye. Because the internet is full of places that relies on people not looking with that critical eye. Addressing the ethical challenge, once again, we have to remember our students are kids. They're not fully understand their roles in this new interconnected world. Issues of privacy, professionalism, and propriety are constantly evolving as technology changes. The only way to build community skills is to actually have them take part in a community. This can be done in real life as well as online. By blending your in-class life in education setting with your online education setting and showing them that the same rules apply. If you can foster a situation of debate and discussion in real life classroom and show them that's a safe place where their views can be expressed and we value professionalism and politeness and simply treating others with respect and dignity, then move that level of ethics to an online environment and stressing that these things are the same. That how you want to treat someone in the online world or the offline world should be the same way you want to treat somebody in the online world. These are very important things that we need to build within our students, and the onus is really on us, the teachers, to do it. As more and more schools come online and the internet becomes more ubiquitous in our lives, it's more important than ever that our classes address these topics. We as educators need to find the best and most meaningful ways to integrate these technologies into our classrooms. We need to create a classroom where students feel open to create and share their work and ideas in a safe, professional environment. If there was an answer, particularly how to do this, and I could just go to one website and say, here are a million things you can do to do this, I wouldn't need to teach. I would make a lot of money writing books. It's a constant challenge to do these things because these new ethics are constantly changing and evolving. Students have very little concept of what we would consider to be privacy now because so much of their lives are online. What is privacy? What is plagiarism? Building this environment begins in the physical classroom through structured discussion, think alouds, debates, etc. Focusing on issues of privacy, plagiarism, creativity, decency. This might be hard to work into the curriculum, but simple structured discussion and debate with clear rules, starting as young as possible, show the students that the rules of a professional life and being a professional person are not just in the physical world. They are also in the online world, because the building of strict expectations and practical modeling of behavior from the teacher/moderator of the online community. You show them what the rules are and you build it within your class, it can easily be translated to your online environment. Growing this new media literacy is something that we are going to be working on for a while as educators in America, because the technology is always evolving and something new is always going to happen. But we can no longer just bury our head in the sand and pretend that we don't need to teach our kids how to do this stuff. Because right now, the internet is fun and games for them. It's entertainment. We need to show them that the internet and this within a strict classroom setting is a real tool, and a tool they need to understand how to use going into the professional world of the 21st century. Thank you for following along with me. If you have any other questions about my presentation, feel free to contact me on the boards. My references are right here. As you can see, thank you for listening, and have a good day.